All right, good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 211th episode of our first run as the artist through Book of Hours on YouTube. Picasso, I'll give you Picasso. The artist came to Hush House to shape and share a history of primal, ultimate, unprecedented experience, but you can complete the game by recording any history. You might wish to begin your studies with the Bosque Wisdom. Data was a start. The Surrealist Manifesto, a step along the road, but only a step. The road goes nowhere unless it goes into the wood, and that's a road we can only walk in the dark. Wait, no, not in the dark. In blood. Hip deep in blood. Oh, shut up. Give it to me. I'll write it. So, we have leveled up, or we will in 30 seconds level up Weaving and Not Working to its ultimate destination in Birdsong. We still have a lot of skills to level up. But that is something that I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time doing in Numa, and the time that I do these on my own will be, mostly they'll be about, how do I put this? When it's a normal season, I kind of want to do the really tough ones because they give, like, I have unlimited time in order to be able to do this. So, we obviously need to wait for the actually, I guess I didn't even really think about spices and savors. This is forge and nectar, but I guess what I kind of want to do here first is see how many I get. I'm guessing I'll get 2, but we'll see. Skill is now level 9. Its power aspects have also increased. Valentine de Wolf. All right, we will move on to the Pale Chamber. I guess I'll look at the clock in this one as well. I don't know where I sort of started imposing that rule, but I might as well stay consistent with it. But again, the main thing we're interested in right now is the contents of all the books. All right, sea-strewn, salt-snared stuff. I am running out of space with all these pilchards. Ooh, let's set things aside for that. All right, the writing on the wall, the most delicious traditions of the Carapace Cross as recorded on the walls of the Mansus and transcribed into a book of 99 pages by one known only as CC. Although this book does not exist, it is read to a sleeper under certain very specific circumstances and certain fragments jotted down upon waking. It was hunger that made worms of dragons when they consumed the corpses of ours. Without the savor secret of the carapace, their hunger would not have been sufficient. Here is outlined the savor secret of the carapace, which harnesses hunger to permit impossible hybridizations. With the secret, even the most potent and fundamental entities have devoured and been devoured, and this, no doubt, is why it's secret. Wow. Potent, and spices and savors. Okay. That is quite the image. An irresistible feast. Actually, come to think of it, I think I've seen this once before. Newman, an irresistible feast. It was hunger that made worms of dragons when they consumed the corpses of ours. Without the savor secret of the carapace, their hunger would not have been sufficient. In certain histories, that savor secret still has power. So I'm actually going to make a note of this. Oh, crap. Uh-oh. Oh, here we are. Okay. Now we can use that if I want, but my focus right now is to just think about this skill plan and see what I can use to level up these items with. Now, it's also worth noting here, any librarian can use this to establish a history and complete the game, but the artist can use it to win a particular victory. So this is at long last. So I did know that A Child's Treasury of Golden Afternoons had something for me there, but turns out the Irresistible Feast works for the artist as well. But my main focus now is going to be on how do I use spices and savors to achieve my overall goals. So the highest level improvement looks to be Great Signs and Great Scars, but I believe that is a Knock and Grail one. Yeah, so that's not eligible. Sea Stories is also on the list. However, I believe that is Moon and... Actually, Moon and Grail? Yeah. All right. Strings and Songs, which again, Sky and Heart. Snow Stories... Don't think so. Not looking good. Hill and Hollow. Nope. Applebright Euphonies, again, Grail and Sky. I'll double check, but... Disciplines of the... Oh, Disciplines of the Hammer. Okay. It's hammer time. Oh! Yes. Alright. So I need Edge and Forge for this. Which, if I want, I can use with the Irresistible Feast. I'll use it on the level 8 one. Okay, so this will be eventually be set. Well, we can deal with it at the time, but right now we just need 5. So, although honestly, we kind of need is we'll use whatever we can. So, okay, let's go. So we're looking for Forge and Edge here. Patterns helps. Okay, fear. So that's 2 of the 5 that we need. Whoa! All right, Foresight. Should be Contradiction. don't think we have anything else on these. There may be one other one that I'm sort of not thinking of, but I think we have enough to get started with leveling up Disciplines of the Hammer. Right, Self-Born. A furry, cloven-looking foot reaches towards a mirror. Its reflection is a bird's claw. Signed, Nina Lagasse. Okay, moving on. I did say I was going to take a look at the clock, so we'll do that now. Daybreak Clock, a particularly unrepentant example of the Rococo style of the mid-18th century. Ambrose Westcott loved this clock. Most of his successors thought it was hideous, but it's been quietly shuffled from room to room where they didn't have to look at it until it ended up here. Oh, the touch, of course. That will help me as well. Okay, moving on. We'll move up, and we get to see Ava and Abraham, 1724. This will be one that I use the core with. Radical Measure, glossed. The original Radical Measures was a manifesto for experimental poetry with occult properties, written in the 19th century by Dr. Aaron Peel. The original is notoriously incoherent. Much later, Christopher Illapoli took on the task of editing and glossing it. He has taken some liberties, but the updated version is generally well regarded. The hours have little time for poetry, Dr. Peel avers, but they have tremendous amount of time for poets. Illapoli has added the note suggesting that this should in fact be the most tremendous time with poets. As Rose opens, Dr. Peel explains, enduring memory opens to the horizon. This is a way of saying something that cannot otherwise be said, and is best only written with one's eyes firmly closed. Illapoli's gloss reads, Horizon Sight Synthesis Method, reverse procedure with knock to liberate Gervinite in the Chronsochord mode. The Sevenfold Slaying of the Seven Coiled, an account of the destruction of a primeval hour, a god who was stone. There are 12 verses, and the first, an ascendant hour identified as the Scarred One, enumerates his justifications for destroying the Seven Coiled, its appetites, its growth, its enmity to humanity. In the second, a priestess puts out his eyes and scars his skin to protect him against the Seven Coiled's magics. In each of the next 7 verses, he destroys one aspect of the Seven Coiled. In the 10th verse, the Scarred One bathes his priestess patron in the blood of the Seven Coiled to lend her power. In the 11th, they assault the temple behind the world, entering it by force. In the 12th, they swear a tripartite oath to protect their ancestors, their descendants, and themselves. So if you can just give me a second here, I need to see the time. Okay, we're good. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Updraft. I should be reading the descriptions here. Pattern, something fits just right. Annals of St. Brendan's. Over 100 years of the Abbey's annals from 1230 to 1350. 3 events of particular interest are recorded. An endowment by Ava de Braust, window of the Marcher Lord Willem Du, Black William, which enables an expansion of the Abbey, the construction of the Winter Tower, which is dedicated to the Madrigad, and the death by poisoning of arts unsanctioned of Abbess Nona. After Abbess Nona's death, the double foundation is dissolved and the monastery is reformed to accept only male novices. At this point, the ink changes. The helpful scribe explains that for the new foundation, the abbot has mandated Stargall, not Ugall ink. He outlines the differences, use ink as a containment techniques with sky, not nectar context, but doesn't trouble to explain why. Regret, every choice has its shadow. Observations on the Peacock Door. Nangala of Lagash discusses the Peacock Door, the highest door available to mortals in the Mansis, a rent, an imperfection, and abrasion. Notably, the book is written in Vac, which by some accounts is another aspect of the Peacock Door itself. Nangala addresses this by apologizing courteously to the door and the language at the end of every section. The Peacock Door did not exist, Ningala says, in the days when the gods from stone entered the Mansus. They used the fanged key to open the Savage Door, a door not usually available to mortals. Speech, as the initiates of Kion would have it, is a wound. I fear that through that wound the blood of the Mansus flows even now, and that one day speech will be an end to dream. I fear that, but I fear the alternative far more. Something uncomfortable. And Ava's treasury, Ava de Wolf, last of the Brandkrugs, discusses the occult and aesthetic properties of jewels and other precious minerals. Black nephrite and scolecite for nowhere, orichalc and amber for Ys, amethyst for the night key of the spider door. Ava points out, bitterly, that there is no shortage of uplifting parables and proverbs about the saving graces of a flaw in a jewel, but that no one, not jeweler, nor priest, nor hour, has ever found a way to repair such a flaw. Foresight, wits forge and fire blast, meanings press and screw. Coleridge on Donne's poetry. Okay, so let's see if we can move up the... Well, before I do that, we've got 5 seconds. Investigate the object. You won't use this up or consume it by doing this. Ava and Abraham, 1724. A magnificent depiction in oils of an elegantly dressed 18th century couple. The face of the gentleman, however, was long ago obliterated by a splash of some dark, corrosive substance. In her youth, Lady Ava is engaged to be married to an Abraham Wheellock of Monmouthshire, but in 1725 he leaves her at the altar. Furious and humiliated, she returns to Brandkrug and is not seen in London again. 3 days after her departure, Abraham Wheellock's body is washed up near Gravesend. His face is so badly pecked by birds that he is only identified by his belongings. These include a waxed pouch containing a letter addressed to Wheellock, whose contents seem to show he is a spy in the pay of the Austrians. Subsequent investigation suggests that the letter is a forgery, but the matter remains obscure. The eyes sees more than the heart knows. Blake. All right. So we are going to take the time to level up Disciplines of the Hammer. So foresight, contradiction, regret, fear, pattern. So the reason I'm doing it this way is that now we're already up 3 when we want to take this from 6 to 7. So at last I am something of an authority in this. Improve the skill to level 6. So, let's go with Trist. I think Secret Thresholds might actually give us some knock too. Or wait, I don't need knock though. Sorry, I should double check what I'm doing here. So we're 5 to 6, right? Yeah. So I need 6. We've got 3, 4. Hang on. 3, 4, 5. Six. That should be it. And if I need, I can use the old moment, I suppose. Or actually, the old wound would be easier. Gonna wait to toss that out. The skill is now level 6. Its power aspects have also increased. I think I have a little bit of time to take a peek at the at another painting or something. Nothing in here. Nothing in here. I suppose we've already checked all of these. We haven't checked this one. God's Return. Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. Traveling at Night, Volume 3, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Elopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist, literate, entertaining, bewildering. Elopoli's disquisitions on fire and the unburnt god are interrupted by passages of distractingly erotic poetry addressed to Baldemera. To reach the stag door, I believe that all you really need is to want something enough, but I've never wanted anything that much, except of course Baldemera, and I'm very much afraid that the knot in the story is this: what Baldemera wants is the stag door. But here's something I learned in Persia. Perhaps it'll teach you what you want. Viennese Conundra, Van Driel describes odd events in Vienna, the disappearance of children, epidemics of parasite activity, animal mutilations, nightmares of worms, the activities of a charitable organization, the New Legions, that funds the burial of the poor. She proposes peculiar connections between these activities. When the individual K attends the meetings, black dogs are sacrificed and quartered. When the element M is in attendance, black mares are found with their throats slashed. I propose that these sacrifices are not necessary, but that our Legion friends may consider them fitting, herewith diagrams of the mutilations. Medusa's riddle, then, I choose to render as what is not seen. There is another riddle, one I have heard rendered as what may be lost. I will delineate some historic attempts to answer it. These are, in themselves, in some sense, sacrifices. The Hunting Journals of Brian de Wolfe. Brian de Wolfe, son of the 3rd Baron Brancrew, gives advice on hunting in the bounds. It is clear from Brian's journals that he sought unorthodox trophies and put them to unorthodox uses. He was in fact hanged as a witch at the age of 24 and never inherited the estate. Brian describes how a sky-inspired fife can be prepared using these furs and feathers techniques, in the presence of greater sky aspect to make the winds good neighbors. It's a powerful technique to be described so casually. Brian's main interest seems to be ensuring good weather for his hunts. God's Return, a green shoot splits a rock, signed Nina Lagasse. Okay, let's get things leveled up. So this will eventually be 7. Arab. Okay, spices and savors. Oh, we haven't got our... Wait, yes we do. Pattern, fear, spices and savors, touch, loss, an irresistible feast, and yes, I did apparently miscount. A little bit of a shame, but not nothing. Like, this is not a catastrophe. We'll get by. When I thought I'd understood, I'd only begun. I'm just going to take a second here to adjust my notes. So assuming we can get hushery sorted out, we will be able to work with illumination soon. To purify and combine the selves and the essences, the hammer shapes gates and shatters doors, within us and without. Memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. So we don't have that much to do until we get more lessons. And again, this is something that House of Light will take care of. But we really just don't have anything to... I mean, I can investigate it, but yeah, we don't really have that much to do until until Numa or until the next season, and we... Sorry, I was saying House of Light solves this. So right now we just kind of wait for the next season to either give us a book or give us a visitor that potentially knows Hyksos. And one of the ways that House of Light handles this is you can do a Salon every period. Now, it helps to have a lot of elements of the soul, but basically through the conversations with people, you can get lessons. So if you are maxed out in terms of books, you have another mechanism to sort of stop being, if you're waiting for something specific like I am, it's a way of sort of making it a little bit less of a grind or a drag. There are a couple things that I can do with the memory that I recently got incidentally, but I'm going to read Towards a Fundamental Aesthetic 2nd edition because there's actually some information I'd like to get out of that. Okay. We'll now consider White Matilda. Now, I think another thing I'd kind of like to do is make some more of these high-value inks. I just hope I remember how to do that. Looks like I'm stuck with the altar, or the higher altars. Okay, so if I make the Ichor Auroral, I can make Porphyryne. And I can easily make Ichor Auroral with the Hurricane Lamp. So condense light to a rose fluid. And actually, in this case, let's drop the FET, and we'll use the Wist instead. We'll use the Fost instead. Condense light to a rose fluid. I'll eventually do this for each of the various inks, but in this case, there's a reason for wanting a little more Porphyryne. Oh yes, I should also go to the Nocturnary to get my old wound. Explore an old wound to awaken the violent resonances within. Okay, White Matilda. In 1093, twin infant girls were admitted to the care of the sisters here. Both were named Matilda. In 1127, the elder of the two became abbess. According to gossip and circumstantial evidence, the Matildas were illegitimate daughters of Gunhild, daughter of King Harold and brother of the Earl of Cornwall, though which brother is a particularly murky question. Now, I didn't really examine the pale bust. I probably should do that. They used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Towards a Fundamental Aesthetic 2nd edition, or The Refinements of Light, Julian Cosley had never wanted or expected to write a 2nd edition of his masterwork. Julian Cosley long regarded Solomon Husher as a charlatan, but his friend Nina Lagasse painted 3 paintings before her death in 1895, and these paintings apparently convinced Cosley to change his mind. With considerable irritation, he revised his magnum opus. The perfect hegemony of the hours is perhaps eternal. Cosley had always championed history rather than eternity, the exceptions, limitations, and contradictions of freedom. But Husher's and Lagasse's work convinced him to believe in the paradox of the eternal ending, a means in which perfection might be reconciled with freedom. He's not happy about it. This is perhaps the angriest book ever written in support of a peaceful philosophy of acceptance, but Cosley was always scrupulous about his conclusions. I really love that last description, by the way, there. So the interesting question, of course, is which of the 3 paintings were the last of Nina Lagasse's? So we have... there were a few that we were looking through. We'll try and remember the one. So this one, The Hatching. Human figures crawl from a clamshell. I think maybe The First Birth. Definitely more than 3, as you can see. So, a final understanding. Eternity and history cannot be reconciled. Freedom cannot be perfection, not unless we understand the paradox of the eternal ending. Only in certain histories is that paradox possible. Pale bust, a delicate-featured young woman. An inscription reads, Abra Southey. The bust bears a slight but definite resemblance to the many depictions of the notorious Ava de Wolf, but surely Ava bore only a son, and her granddaughters died young. Okay, we'll take a look at the 9-wink clock. From there, we've got a couple items to check out here. Lots in this room. Yeah, we still have a few paintings to take care of. Move gingerly while the pain lasts. Alright, let's just change this around a bit. Alright, so I know I'm at time. I'm going to try and get the porphyrin underway. With Keeper level rose, the ichor auroral is the precursor to the great ink porphyrin. I'm 1 short. Deepen the ichor into the Incastum Terminale porphyrin. Inks of power with Keeper level plus ichor auroral creates porphyrin. Salt, which I'm going to get rid of. Or salt. Sand. A 9-wing clock, the most effective and irrefutable alarm clock ever to grace the house. The alarm can only be switched off with a particular rotation of the key. Lazier librarians have found it easier to just let the thing run down. Okay, so... yes, this is it for this specific section. We will be moving on... I'll take a look at the velvet right now. This will be a little bit like the Flood Gallery. I'm guessing, if I had to guess the Nina Lagasse paintings, I'd say these are 3 candidates and maybe this one. This one I think is Valentine. Yeah, it says Valentine de Wolf. the only thing I can say is I was kind of hoping that we might make it to the next season, but we're in a pretty good spot for the for sort of future plans. I don't think I have any more elements of the soul that I can commit. I think the real thing I'm waiting on here would be Hushery, actually. So for Hushery, I've got... it looks like I need to take at least one... So I need 3 of the level 3s. The biggest jump that I need to make is to go from a 3 to a 7. So I have a feeling that that's not necessarily something I'm going to be able to do during Enuma. But I also, like, I can, at the very least, I can try and push it up a bit. There's a few which are a little more straightforward, right, to go from like a 3 to 5 or something like that. So really the way that I've been handling this is I've looked at the largest number on my list here. So I think I'm down to 8s. I don't think I need any 9s at this point. But I need to start making some 8s. I have 4 of those. And then for 7s, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're going to get hung up on the 7s. And then the thing is like to get to the 6s and all of that, especially given that I'm at 3s and 4s, it is actually, it's not impossible that we would be able to do that with Enuma. A lot of what sort of rests on that is my elements of the soul, how many I'll have at the time, and what I can deploy towards it. And again, I do have a couple of things that I can do to sort of help me out in terms of Enuma. I've been reluctant to use that, but now that I have a little bit more that I want to do, and sort of fewer opportunities to try and push things forward, there's one very specific thing that would be a catalyst for me to really push hard on the Numas, which I'm not quite there for. But I do have some ideas in terms of roughly how the playthrough is going to be shaped. A lot of this really just kind of comes down to what I want to do is where I can, while I have other things to do, I want to occupy the time between advancement periods with things like exploring the house and catching up on some of the things that I didn't do before. And then when those opportunities to take action happen, I want to like really lean into those. So Numa is going to be probably a ton of planning followed by execution. And then the hope there is that we will be taking some of that, because I'm going to be focusing on my lower level skills in that case. Hopefully what's going to happen is we're going to take that and we're going to turn that into some commitments on the Tree of Wisdoms. And then, the cycle kind of repeats itself. On the other hand, if we get Hyksos, then we finally have our 2 choices as far as the, the Newman that we use, unless we wind up finding another secret of the house. But I think for that, we're going to have to rely on getting more books. But I'm interested in seeing where this winds up. But I'm feeling a little more optimistic in terms of the Tree of Wisdoms right now. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot. Here right now. But the thing to remember is that there's a couple of very straightforward things that are holding these back, and once those things are out of the way, we're actually going to wind up filling this up quite quickly. And again, this isn't a primary goal. If I get Hyksos and I feel like I'm ready to commit a history, then we can move on that. And we're certainly at a point now where I feel like we are closer to that objective than we were before. Of course, all of that will be handled in a future week. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care and have a very nice weekend.